Want to see more birds? Right now, I'm going to show you how to combine nature journaling and birding to make both better. And if you stay to the end of the video, I'll share a super cool learning resource I just found online.
See that oak tree right there? I am going to nature journal and paint that oak tree. And while I'm sitting here focused on that tree, the birds are going to start coming a lot closer. And then I will be able to pay attention to them, see them, and record them in my nature journal.
By sitting in one spot and focusing on drawing a tree or another stationary object, you give yourself the patience to stay in one spot and allow the birds to come closer. While you're doing this painting, you could stop at any time if birds come close. Part of the trick is that you also learn more about the context in which the birds live, which is super important. And that way, when you have your bird sightings or your bird list that you keep on these trips, you can add it to the illustrations or the little drawings and notes that you've taken about the environment. This trick has worked for me very well, and I see way more birds when I set out to draw a tree than when I look for birds intentionally.
Okay, this is perfect timing. I've been drawing here for about maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and I got my basic drawing of the tree. I just put down a big watercolor wash for getting in my light colors, because you got to start with your light colors first in watercolor. Now I'm waiting for this to dry, and just about now I start hearing birds coming in closer to me. So this is perfect because now I've got my binoculars right here, and I just heard what I think were some oak titmice nearby. What's the plural for oak titmouse? And, oh, here we go. I got some more here. Okay, I just heard. Okay, now I'm hearing. It's either like a goldfinch, or maybe it's some type of warbler, or even a western bluebird. It could be. One thing I'm trying to get better at with my birding is my woodpeckers. So around here we have downy woodpeckers and what's the other one? Hairy woodpecker. Those woodpeckers I'm trying to get better at identifying, because I'm pretty good with my acorn woodpeckers, pileated woodpeckers, my flickers, sapsuckers, but those smaller woodpeckers I'm still getting better at. Oh, I hear one of those woodpeckers. Not sure which one it is. I saw it earlier, and it had stripes on the inside underneath of its tail. I need to get better at memorizing all those different parts of a bird's feathers. But I didn't even choose this spot to be particularly birdy, and I'm using this strategy, this secret strategy that I'm teaching you right now. And I've got my landscape painting, or this painting of a tree partially in, but you could do a landscape painting while you're waiting for the birds also. But if I had gone to a specifically birdy place for this, I would be seeing even more birds by now. Okay, so I got my, now I'm gonna come in with my medium darks. Okay, so now I've done my second wash, and I'm basically trying to do 3 values, more or less 3 values from the lightest, which would be up here where I've reserved white, to the darkest. And so right now I've only put in 2 of the values in addition to the white, and I'm gonna let this dry. And while I'm letting this dry, I'm gonna pay attention to birds because some more birds have moved in. So it's been about 10 more minutes into my session. So now I'm gonna go back into birding mode. I'm also gonna use my journal for my birding. So I'm gonna, at the very least, keep a running tab of the species that I think I see in here. And if I want to be even more advanced, I will try recording in some way the sound, the vocalization that I heard. Lots of people have different systems for how to record bird sound. The easiest would be to probably try to describe it in analogy. This is also probably the least exact, so it sounded like a machine gun trill. And then you can have different systems for showing sound, and there's official systems for this, but if you haven't practiced any of those, don't worry about it. Just try to make some type of mark. And even by making any mark at all, it will help you remember the sound. Because if you tell yourself, oh, well, I'm gonna learn the official way, and then once I learn the official way, then I'll start writing down bird sound, that's not a good approach because then you'll just never do it. So I know that's sometimes a limiting factor for me. So if you at least try making some type of mark. So see here, this up and down to me represents the repetition, machine gun staccato sound of the bird call, of this woodpecker bird call, and then this sort of represents that I think there's sometimes a gap, and then they make the sound again. So give it at least a try. If that's too much for you, at the very least, keep a running list of the birds that you see, and by the time you're done doing that, your watercolor painting of the tree is ready for another wash. Okay, so I just did the final wash. I'm aiming for 4 values, including white, and I'm gonna do my little bit of a self-critique now. There's the tree. Exposure's not super good on the camera, but going back to my painting, I've been combining birding and drawing this tree because that's my secret birding strategy. And now I'll just critique this painting really briefly, but I was really focusing on trying to simplify it to 3 values, and if you can do that and just do it in 3 washes, it's not a huge investment of time, and you have a good chance of getting a nice little painting of that tree while also birding. So you can see one mistake that I made is I started to, when I was coming through on my 3rd value, you can see here at the beginning it's very dark. By the time I get over here, it's pretty much the same as that previous value, that in between value, and maintaining it simple with just 4 values is really crucial.
But wait, how am I supposed to nature journal and bird at the same time if I don't have very much drawing experience? Don't worry, a lot of times in nature the birds are not going to stay still for very long. But if you just practice, you'll start getting better. And even just some marks like this showing birds sitting down at a distance are going to be really helpful for your visual memory. You can see I was trying to draw this cormorant that was preening its chest feathers, and it looks very weird, but even just doing some stuff like this and getting it on the page and adding this to your bird list that you're already keeping is going to give so much more value to what you're doing. I'll show you some more examples. If the birds are sitting still for a little bit, you can get a capture of the landscape that they're in, especially if it's small, and even something like this you could fit into your pocket journal, your pocket bird list. So there's no real excuse not to try nature journaling while you're out there, and it's going to really help you with difficult to identify birds and for remembering those field characteristics. So I told you I was going to share a really fun learning tool that I just found online. And you probably already know that the Cornell Lab of Ornithology has tons of great information for birders. Well, I just started playing around with their Birdsong Hero game, which helps you understand how birdsong can be visualized. And that would be a great help if you're experimenting with different ways of annotating birdsong visually in your journal. So check it out. Just do a search for Birdsong Hero. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you got value out of it, thumbs up down below and consider subscribing to my channel. And if you can't wait all the way until next week for the next episode of the show, check out these two videos here. Bye.